All right, well, let's move on and let's talk about this Harry Kane money. Got an influx of £100 million come into the club. Brains, how would you spend that Harry Kane money?
So for me, I would go and get Arbin right now. Like when we had identified him, and apparently like we've actually been looking at him for a while. But when we identified him, like the start of this window to actually bring him in, if we got him, he would have been 15 million. He's now going to be 25, and it's only going to keep going up. Like, and for a guy like that, you have to not do that silly thing people do where they're like, oh, but look at the league it's in. You have to understand Nigerian players, and when they go into European leagues, how they like they're so like eager to like impress the managers. This guy's manager describes him as a phenomenon, and he's saying like wherever he goes, he's a phenomenon. He'll leave us, he's still going to be a phenomenon. He's 21 and he scores more than a goal a game. You know, like it doesn't matter where you are in the world. If you understand your role and you have his attributes, which is speed, strength, like I don't know how many times he bashes guys off the ball to make his dribbles work. He's not just a dribbler, he's a strong upper shoulder guy. So I don't think he kind of reminds me a bit of like a Drogba in the way that he uses his upper body. He's got brilliant feet. I say you go and do that deal right now. And then for me, like you focus on getting everyone else out and then get a center back in on the deadline day, whatever, you know, Tosin. Obviously, I would love to, if you have the Harry Kane money and we actually have that money and that isn't just already gone into the books and we're even, you know, if you have that money, I would go and get Arbin right now. And then I'd go and pick up, obviously the dream would be Tapsoba, but Tosin or Sure, either one of them, just one of them, just one great centre back would be fine. I think Sure would be a really good shout because of the link with him and Van de Ven, two huge Dutch centre backs together would be great. And then I genuinely think we made a massive mistake now in retrospect with Vicario. Willing to give him time, but my gut feeling is it was a mistake. So I would take whatever money was left and go get an incredible goalkeeper. I'd go and try.
Can you imagine what Vicario would think if we just go and get another goalkeeper now? We've literally just brought him in, told him he's going to be our number one for the season. And after one game, you're telling him, nah, you're not good enough.
We got done again by this whole best goalkeeper in Serie A. Just made the Italian team. Like, Italy's been going through trouble, all right? They've not been a great team for a while. Like their Serie A goalkeepers, for whatever reason, they come to us and they just don't look good. So, I mean, I want the kid to have his fair share and his fair shot. And, you know, he is a good shot stopper, make no doubts about it. But even his shot stopping, he pushes the ball into dangerous areas. He's really like, he flaps his hands at things and doesn't really consider where the ball's going, you know. You have to be strong enough to be able to walk out and put your hands around the ball and catch it. You cannot, in the Prem, you cannot drop the ball. You cannot make those types of stops where you push it right into the center of the goal. So he's a good shot stopper. I haven't seen anything with his feet so far. He's supposed to be really good with his feet. He kind of seems a bit shaky on his legs. That's going to create shakiness at the back. If there isn't a clear, like a goalkeeper's got to be very loud and vocal and speaking to his centre backs. If he's not like that, that's going to be a problem. So even if you've got Romero and Van de Ven, who are very outspoken, kind of leader type people, the guy behind him has to be even stronger. He's got to shout. He's got to tell them positionally where he has to be. Some of his positioning on crosses and stuff looks a little bit suspect at times. So look, it maybe just takes some time, but I'm looking at fundamentals that, for me, if I look at a goalkeeper, he's getting wrong. So I'm not feeling great about him right now.
Yeah, I mean, me personally, I think the Kane money's gone anyway. I think we spent it on Vicario, Madison, and Van de Ven, to be honest. And I think the rest of the next incomings are all relying on who we're going to get out the door in the remaining, knockings of the window. But HG, how would you like to see us navigate the rest of the window?
I definitely think a third centre back is essential. I really do. Like, Davinson Sanchez came in, played really well, but I don't think he wants to be at Spurs long term himself, let alone that we want him to stay long term. So he's a fantastic option when we have the issues that we had on Sunday, but really I want a third proper like an established centre back who has the more attributes that Ange will want from his centre backs. So we've seen Van der Ven. Like it's weird that the comments that Tim Sherwood made about Van der Ven looking wooden on the ball. I can see that. If I'm honest, I can genuinely see that. But he's not there for what he can do and how good he looks on the ball. He's good for the fact that he's got the pace and he's got the height. And in a one-on-one situation, he will be difficult to get past. That's why he's there. So I think that a third centre back would be extremely useful. I don't necessarily feel like we need a fourth. I think that Phillips or Dorrington or like even Ben Davies at a push could be that fourth guy if we're desperate. But I think that a third centre back is definitely necessary. And then from then on, it's about finding players that can do the roles that Ange wants them to do. If that's a right winger, if that's the central striker, if that's the number 8, so that Skip isn't there, we can wait for Bentancur to get back from injury and for Brian Hill to get back from injury. But maybe we need another, let's say, a more mobile 8. Like Pape Sarr's a good player, but again, I don't see him doing much different than what Skip did. I don't think there was much difference when he came on Sunday. Neither one of them seemed massively suited for a role that's quite creative and involves running beyond the striker, getting into the box. So there are decisions that we need to make based on kind of what we want going forward. And obviously, we might need some homegrown players too to fit that. But I think that's where I want the money to go. Like if I'm paying 30, like if we're assuming that 100 million is now available, then I'll pay the money for Orban. I'll pay 30, 40 million for another centre back. Weirdly enough, I always liked the other Wolfsburg centre back much more than Van der Ven. Lacroix. I've always liked Lacroix, but we needed a left footer, so it made sense to go to Van der Ven. But I just feel that that's kind of what we need to be doing. We need a proper 8 because like Lo Celso's good, but right now you could say he's 5th choice. Right, and he may not be at the club long term, may only stay until another season. Like we are trying to move the thing forward. Like it won't be about how good we are this year; it'll be about how good we are next year.
It always is, HG.
Yeah, but it has to be. I mean, like long term planning. Like I think we'll be good this year regardless. I genuinely do. But if we're buying people in, I don't necessarily need another Maddison character who's in the peak of his career and will play every game when fit. But I do think that, to me, Sarr is more a 6 than an 8. Right? I think Skip is more a 6 than an 8. But in this system, Skip's not a 6. Right? You don't want him receiving on the half turn from the centre-backs. So do I think Sarr is a better 8 than Skip? Yes, I do. But I don't think that's where they need to be going. We need to find a better passer, someone who offers some goal threat from those midfield. Because Maddison's not making those runs into the box. So someone has to be doing it. And yeah, like we're talking about a player that we don't have, the kind of player that we don't have. But that's where I would be thinking.
Do we have a player on the bench that maybe could do that role? Giovanni Lo Celso?
Like, I think Lo Celso is very similar to Maddison in the fact that he wants to create. Kulusevski wants to create. I don't think any of them really want to be on the end of things. Bentancur has shown a willingness to get into the box. He showed that last season. He could easily be that guy, but I think we need runners. Like the whole system is based around movement. Skip doesn't really want to. Sarr doesn't really want to. And they may have been, Sarr was a central midfielder in a 3 playing in French football, but it was a completely different style of system. So you've got to figure out what functions in what you want to do. It's a shame that Skip is kind of around because he's homegrown, and we need those things. But if I'm looking to improve on what we have, then I think a better goal-scoring midfielder needs to come in.
You're talking about Hatate. That's really what you're talking about.
No, who he's talking about is Dele Alli. That's who he's talking about. 2017.
I was hearing Alex Scott if he didn't go to Bournemouth. That was a big miss. Like
if Dele Alli can reinvigorate himself and have an okay season this year, at the end of his year, he's out of the contract. Would you take him back if he's looking more positive?
No.
I mean, he's not going to be that guy for Everton, right? I mean, that's he may not even play for Everton. Like we all want to see him get back to who he was. Of course we do. And as Spurs fans, we want to see him do that for Spurs. And perhaps this system would really suit him. There's no doubt in my mind it would suit the Dele from 4, 5, 6 seasons ago. Yeah. But it's a gamble. It would be a massive gamble.
Yeah, of course.
And I think that we have to kind of move on from that, sadly.
We need that kind of player, right? Arriving late in the box that's able to score 15 goals a season. You know, a Dele Alli type, should I say? Not Dele Alli himself, probably, but a Dele Alli type.
It just take it what kind of movement you want. Like, to me, I want a number 8 to make those late runs into the box. I mean, the goals that Skip scored at Barcelona were what we want an 8 to do. But I just feel that in those games against Barcelona, he had space to run into, right? So it was quite easy. Oh, the ball's over on the left. My job is to run into the box. I'm going to run into the box. And maybe he was surprised that the ball landed at his feet. I mean, I think we all were. But that's what you can do when you've got space to run into. In a system like when we're playing against Brentford or low blocks, there's no space to run into. You've got to find the space. You can't just run forward and get into a good area. You've got to be smart. And that's probably where I think we're missing.
Did you guys ever see Hatate, how he played for Celtic? Because everything that we're talking about is Hatate. Like, he is like basically a shorter, but built and runs and moves and does everything the same as Basuma. But he's more attacking and he puts more balls through and he scores more worldies from outside the box. It's exactly that guy. Like, there's no one better. For the life of me, I don't understand Ange coming here, how he didn't just go, okay, get in the backpack Kyogo and get in the backpack Hatate. Let's go. Like, because they are exactly what we need. You know, it's crazy to me. It's like, go and get Hatate for 15 million. Go and Kyogo obviously upped his deal and he's, you know, signed a new contract. Go and get him for 30 million. For me, it's absolute no-brainer stuff. It's almost frustrating that this most simple Occam's razor thing never gets done. It's
well, there are the comment section are going mad. They're saying Rio Hatate, they're saying Eberechi Eze, and I've got another one in Mohamed Kudus as well, who could potentially be on West Ham right now. Like Mohamed Kudus, I think for the price they're talking about, 35 million. Like, why not go and gazump West Ham right now and go get him in?
I know. It was my name.
If we talk, I mean, like, if Madison's going to cut in from the left and get those shots, in the perfect Ange system, the ball comes from the right, Madison's coming in on his right foot, can pick a corner, right? He doesn't have to worry about it. Even in the first pre-season game, the chances we had against West Ham, but the amount of times they fell in the box to someone on their wrong foot who wasn't willing to hit it first time and had to take a touch, and then the chance is gone. The defence is there. So you have to be willing to hit it first time. If Kulusevski can be that the left-footed Madison on the other side,
I like that, by the way.
We don't need it.
I really like that. I like, because of the style of how Madison's setting up, and the way he, like, when he on the halfway line, how he drops the shoulder and turns, that's exactly what Kulu does on the byline. The two of them being able to do that and then, you know, kind of double pivot in a way, but both of them being able to hound that 45-degree angle out to the edge of the box. Yeah. Kulu, that's his cross, right? And he whips that curly cross so beautifully, but have him shooting to the far post, you're going to get goals like that. I love that idea. Yeah. You know, I don't know how strong it is then defensively, but because we play with inverted fullbacks, we have a 4 or 5 at the back that's strong. You know, so you like them to play.
I feel it was the same. I mean, Kulusevski was good in those first 6 months. I always felt that he worked better with Doherty than he did with anyone else. Even though Emerson was playing, I thought him and Doherty, and the game at Leeds, I remember they both scored early on. But there was this idea that Kulusevski was quite happy to stay wide, and Doherty didn't want to go around the outside. Was quite happy to make those runs into the box. And I just feel that, like, if you've got, like, if we think Perisic has a future at Spurs playing as a left winger and doesn't have to worry about defending, and you've got Porro, who can't defend, is good going forward, you could have Kulusevski as the 8 on that side with Porro outside him, and I think it would work. I really do. But it's like, you've got to find players that will fit those roles. Like, maybe that means there's no future at the club for Skip. Maybe it means that Skip or Sarr or whoever else is left over can go out on loan. That's awful, because we've got all these talented midfielders and they are all real. Like Højbjerg, I mean, we all know he's probably going to go, but as an 8 in that system, he's not bad. He'd probably be better at it than Skip as far as I'm concerned. But we know that he's not, like, I think the reason why he didn't come on Sunday is because we know he wants to go. There's no point giving him minutes right now because he's probably going to be on his way out if we can organise fees and everything else. So it's just, like, if you've got an inverted 4, whether it's, you know, I mean, even if it's Davies, you've got Davies, Van der Ven, Romero, and Royal as your back 4. Davies will move in, Udogie can move in, but that 4 is set. Those 4 would be fine. I'd be happy to even have Spence be that inverted right fullback. I know it's not going to happen, but he has the characteristics that an Ange footballer would need. But then, to me at least, it's about how that front 5 figure out the spacings. If we've got wingers, like traditional wingers who just hold the line, then it will give more space for Maddison and more space for Kulusevski or whoever, Lo Celso, to be that 8. But they have to have a decent shot. We know that Maddison does. We haven't really seen it from Kulusevski too often, but it's definitely there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for me, in terms of how I would try, if it was a perfect window, in my opinion, what I'll try and do, I think I agree with the guys. Another centre-back has to be a priority. I think after Van de Ven and Romero, we are really struggling, like in a perfect system, as much as Sanchez has done well. In terms of who I'd get, I think, Pershaw's. I'd even look at Kilman again if we can get a good deal for him, but apparently Ange doesn't like him. So
didn't he just sign a new contract?
Okay, fine. So he's going to be more expensive now, so probably not.
Mudded already, Sam.
Yeah.
Guys, I think it's all about pace. Whoever we sign at centre-back will have to have pace. Like, it's as crazy as it is. Like, if Davinson Sanchez looks like a decent defender in our system and all he has is pace, that's what we need. Like, it'd be better. Obviously, we want someone who's better on the ball than Sanchez is. We want someone who doesn't give me heart attacks every time he tries to play a back pass. Because
someone who's not going to get elbowed off the ball by the wind.
Yeah.
You know,
literally.
I think Tosin's the great centre-back option. He's got pace. He's got ball-playing ability. He's going to be cheap. 1 year left in his deal. I think he just ticks all the boxes, to be honest.
A no-brainer. Total no-brainer.
I think the price as well, probably, he's probably the best fit, although if Sanchez goes to Monaco, maybe we can get Tosin. We'll have to wait and see. And I think up front, I'd go for Orban, and then I would sign a winger. I'll probably sign a Nico Williams or try our best to get Doku. Looks like he's off to City.
Nico Williams would be the best.
I think Nico Williams, who's got a release clause at Bilbao, I think someone like him on the right-hand side, and then you got him competing with Kulu. Kulu could potentially go inside as an 8 as well. I think gives you really good options, because to be honest, looking at our forward line without Harry Kane there, wingers and forwards included, I am a bit concerned. I'm just concerned we don't have enough quality. I'm sure we're going to be better than we were last season. I'm sure we're going to look better on the ball than we were last season. But I'm just comparing our options in the forward line compared to who we're trying to compete with, which is the rest of the top 6. And I just think we're falling short quality-wise. I really do. I don't see us stacking up against them right now, quality. And as much as the system will benefit these players 100%, and I'm sure we'll score goals, Man United have a possession-based system. City do. Arsenal do. Chelsea is starting to get that now. Everyone is starting to play good football, which is trying to get the best out of their forward players. At the end of the day, it's going to come to quality, and I don't think our quality is as good as them. So I think we need to up it, and I think that's why I'd concentrate getting a striker and a winger in the forward line. If I was instead of midfield, I'll just leave the midfield. If it meant improving the forward line, I'll leave the midfield as it is.
Yeah, it's interesting. Sorry, the team that Liverpool played against Chelsea, like, I couldn't believe the 6 players they had in their attacking areas, because it was 6 attacking midfielders or strikers.
Yeah.
Like, all of them could do everything, and perhaps they were lucky that it was 1-1. And there's a reason why Liverpool are looking for that holding midfielder. They want it, but Liverpool have a bunch of strikers that all of them I'd love at Spurs, really. However, Man United, no. I don't really see all their strikers. I'm not clamoring for us to sign Anthony. Rashford seems to be the only one. Højlund is a gamble. Arsenal have strikers. I love Sancho. I think Sancho's a great player. I think Sancho could work in a Spurs system more than he does at Man United. But then I watched Sancho play for Dortmund, where they had that high press, and it was all about quick 1-2s round the corner. Sancho would work really well in this system, but I don't look at Chelsea's options, and I'm not wowed by it. I mean, yes, they're signing players and they're trying to build, but I think we're all capable of doing that. I think Liverpool have probably got the best set of strikers in the. I mean, even though City have Haaland and Alvarez, I think Liverpool have a bunch of attacking players who are really, really good, and they will struggle to fit. Oh, plus they have Darwin; he doesn't really count. But it's just, I think that Spurs have decent attackers. We do. but we've got they'll all look better when they're playing in a role that actually suits them.
Yeah.
I think that's really it to me.
You know,
That's it when we move Porro there, because I think if we move Porro out to the right wing, I think he'll suit that system down to a T. I mean, the guy can get to the byline, cut it back, cross it in. He's got shooting ability as well. I think he's got it all to play that right winger system. I think he's probably the most suited to it out of Kulusevski, Son, and all the players that we've been talking about as well. So I can't wait for the day till we start to give him a try there, because I think it will be absolute miracle.
But you know, a problem with what we're talking about as well is like, so you look at like squads. What the big problem is happening even that first weekend is you've got squads and you've got managements trying to put their systems across. And you know, new players come in. Look at Manchester United. New players come in. All of a sudden, it falls completely apart because you have too many attacking midfielders. You have no one tracking back. You have holes all over the place. You have a system that isn't getting over to the players because you've got egos now, right? Probably predictable. You probably could have guessed that was going to happen with Mason Mount going in there. So with us and most teams, the problem is you've got a roster of players. You have players who can fit in different holes, but then you have a style of play, and it's about how do you get your style of play across whoever works. Sometimes it's not about like this name and this place and this person has this attributes. It's like, how does the style of play work? And for me, what I'm starting to see across the preseason and that first game is that we have a bit of a misunderstanding happening already with the style of play. We're getting into their half and trying to lock them into that D and play fast moving, pass the ball, keep the ball. Looks good. And the common thing that every Spurs fan is like, looks amazing, right? And it does look good. What you're actually doing when you play that high up and you do that passing work inside the triangles inside your opponent's half, you actually make it easier for them to defend. And that's all I saw in that game. As the game went on, it was getting easier and easier and easier. And then you add into the fact that you have kind of out of place people in the front line, people who are not in, you know, how do you expect Richarlison to make space, play in the lines when the spaces are so close because you're coming so far up the pitch? You have to, what they have to do, Ange Ball's thing when it was at Celtic, a lot of time they toyed with teams lower in the pitch. They played out from the back. Carter Vickers was actually brilliant at it. They played out, they played around, they drew people into the traps on the halfway line. Then bang, then they made switches, or they lost the ball a lot of the time. Sometimes, you know, arguably it wasn't deliberate, but they almost looked even better when they lost the ball on the halfway line because then they squashed, bang, closed down, and they put players through, and then there was goals that came from it. And you always had defenses with only two players back and someone on the byline putting it back, and defenses were dead. So what we're doing is we're getting it kind of all wrong for me in the system that he wants to play. We're just pushing all like far too far out the field, going, let's hold him here, let's play fancy touch fast football. And it's like, okay, cool, do that all day long. You're not scoring a goal here. Like, you're not scoring a goal here unless someone picks the ball up and magically you get Emerson Royale scoring from where you're only going to score goals from now. You're only going to score goals from deep now. You're only going to score goals from like outside the box because that's the only option you're creating. And it's going to be lucky goals. So you can't play that far up if you're going to play like that. You have to play a little bit deeper, just on your halfway line, draw them in, maybe in your own half, and then get in behind. So for me, there's problems with not just the players not being in, not fully getting the system or not being in confident mode. It's a problem with just not really fully understanding where you have to play that style of play.
Yeah, I completely get that, you know, like trying to play a bit deeper, draw the opponents out and create more space for us. But in terms of the Brentford game, there were so many opportunities where Sonny and Kulusevski were there right on the edge of the box where they had the opportunities to shoot, that it opened up for them at times where we know Sonny and Kulusevski have those qualities where they can find the back of the net quite regularly from those areas of the pitch. But we just went for that extra pass every single time. It was like we were trying to just pass it into the back of the net. And sometimes we just need to have a pop shot, especially when you have players like Heung-min Son. Utilize it, man. Like when you're in those areas, have a shot on goal. What I don't understand why we didn't do that.
Lack of confidence. It's a classic lack of confidence. Like Sonny, like to get the ball, it's like first thought should be, I want a goal. As a striker, you hate it if you're a midfielder anywhere else, like because you want the pass back. But a striker's brain is, I want to go, I want to score, I want to be the man, I must win the game right now. That's how you have to think as a striker, and you can't tell me anyone in that attack thinks like that. Maybe Madison, but like I don't think any of them think like that. And that's what you see has been dripped and drained and squeezed out of Son's game. It's like now he's just like, oh, pass the ball. You know, sad to see.